EA Sports. It's in the game.
The sports news from today.
The 3-1 and Acuna swings. It's a high drive to left center field. Taylor back at the wall. It is gone.
The voices of tomorrow.
Georgia Tech's Haynes King will be the best quarterback in the ACC next year, not only through the air, but also on the ground.
King is going to take advantage of it into the open field. Oh, there he goes. Still on his feet. He's going to score.
You're listening to On Deck, presented by Complete Game Broadcasting.
Jackson Lowe here with my two bestest friends in the whole world. I got Jay Holloway and I got Harp. How are y'all doing today?
Doing lovely, man. How about you, man?
Oh, I am fantastic.
That was some remix to your intro.
Oh, yeah.
That threw me off guard.
That actually ended up being pretty awesome. Yeah, I
wasn't ready for that. That was not in the pre-show meeting.
No. I did really like the mashup, though. Really like the mashup. So we have an absolutely fantastic show for you again. You can expect nothing less from us. We're going to have Harp hit on a little nostalgia and Jay Holloway talking about malls always being right or something like that. But in local news, the Hawks did beat the Clippers 110-93. That was a huge win against a good team as they continue to try to go towards a playoff spot.
On the road.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Harp? You think they'll be able to make it there? You think they're still on the right track?
Is anybody on the right track and you're still under 500?
No,
they've practically been under 500
the whole year,
the entire season. And I don't know about you all, but I've never been on board with the whole playoff in-game thing because to me, you are basically just degrading the 7 and 8 seeds.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, I mean, I agree with that. And then down in Florida, the Braves did lose to the Rays today, 7-3. Fried did have 4 strikeouts, though, so we could be looking at another good year for him. You know, Strider's probably going to be the ace, but he's going to be that second or third guy, depending on how they use Sale. So, you know, it's still things looking up. They're 9-13, but, you know, it's spring training. A lot of things change by the time you get to that regular season. But also in other baseball news, Georgia Tech swept NC State to start conference play. They fared a whole lot better than Georgia, who got waxed in 3 games this weekend against Kentucky. It was not even close, any of the games. Georgia softball had a good weekend, though. They had a stellar weekend. They were still number 5. They were playing a really good Alabama team. They have one of the best. Bama has one of the best pitchers in the country. Georgia was able to take a little bit of advantage of her in the first game, but then in the last game, Georgia got some runners on. Bama just went ahead and brought her in to close it out, and she showed why she's one of the best pitchers in the country. Had the tying run on third, struck the last girl out. So, all overall, not a bad weekend in Georgia sports. Now, what do y'all either of y'all into college baseball at all?
No, I'm kind of into the Savannah Bananasism.
Yeah, I got you.
Does that even count as real baseball?
It's funny. It's my attention.
It does sort of, but not
what
really.
What league are they in? What conference? What division?
I can't tell you any of that.
League of their own.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. They're playing on the Field of Dreams.
Right.
But
y'all can have that. Yeah, y'all can have that.
I mean, it's just fun. It's a good time. It's the same as what was the basketball one? The Harlem Globetrotters.
Harlem Globetrotters.
It's the same type of deal. And, you know, they get dressed up silly, you know, catch a ball doing a backflip. They come out to silly songs. They just do a lot of things.
They did a reenactment of the Dirty Dancing routine that Patrick Swayze did recently. And then what's the LSU coach that gets ejected all the time? The lady.
I know the women's basketball coach.
Yeah.
What? Kim Mulkey.
She was at a game and they kind of ejected her. Parody out of it, man. So a lot of excitement. But I was in the store yesterday and saw the jerseys and everything, and I said, okay, so this thing is really blowing up.
Yeah.
When I saw the jerseys in the store, I said, okay, this is going somewhere.
Yeah, I forgot what they used to be called. They used to play real baseball, but then this guy came in and bought it, and then he was like, well, you know what? Let's just do entertainment because like it wasn't working with what they were doing. He was like, let's not focus on baseball as much and basically be the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. And it's had a lot of success. They're sold out all the time.
All the time. Marketing, man, sheer marketing.
Oh, absolutely. Their TikTok presence is huge. And one of their star players, Jackson Olsen, he has a massive following on TikTok.
Wow.
So yeah, no, they've really taken Georgia and the world by storm with what they've been doing down there. Yeah. Their biggest rival being the Macon Bacon.
The Macon?
Stellar name for a baseball team. But Harp, it's just fun. What's wrong with it?
You know what's fun? Watching Major League Baseball. That's fun. Actually playing the game to win. Okay, so if these Savannah Bananas, they play a game, okay, what does that lead off to? I mean, what division are they in? What league are they in? Is there a postseason for them to compete in? Can they seriously compete for a postseason berth?
Did you feel the same about the Globetrotters?
Yes.
Okay. No, okay, I feel you. I understand what you're saying. And I do agree with you. I love the MLB. I love baseball. And in my opinion, you know what else used to be fun? College football and bowl games. Back when it was, you were on a team for 4 years. Maybe you transferred once if you were like senior, had your chance to go.
Right.
But now everything has just exploded into mayhem. And where like used to be, it was like the two absolute top teams just battled it out for the national championship. Whether it was subjective, whatever, you still had some really fun bowl games. Like the one that comes to mind for me was Michigan State having a super special season in 2011. Okay. They only went 10-2, but they won the Big Ten. They had the no-fly zone defensive backs, and they beat Stanford. They had a 4th and 1 at the end, and they stopped them, and it was like a massive moment. Everyone's celebrating. That's what college football used to be, and that's what bowl games used to be.
Right.
Now, you're lucky if your starters even show up,
that's right,
especially if they're upperclassmen.
Right.
I mean,
not trying to risk injury or anything.
Exactly.
Can't blame them for that, but yeah.
No, yeah. But I do agree with that point, but at the same time, that's what college football used to be. You didn't care. You weren't thinking about tomorrow as much. You were thinking about today, being on the field with your brothers one last time right now.
Right.
You know? You got anything, Harp, so far?
I got a lot.
Well, just going off of like transfer portal bowl games, what you got there?
Well, in terms of the whole transfer portal thing, first of all, that's always been around.
Not to the extent it is now, not at all.
It has always been around.
That's
now.
Not to the extent it is now. Facts.
Who was the football coach that actually took that thing to new heights for his own personal advantage? Coach Prime. The transfer portal has always been a thing that college athletes, football, basketball, they never really... They grew up in an era in years back where, you stick with that one team and then through thick and thin, you ride it out. Now with this whole new NIL thing happening, these players, they're getting money by the thousands.
Yes.
If not millions. And they are also using that as a marketing tool to go and put themselves in a better position, not so much for their team, but more so for their brand. This transfer portal thing, it has put college coaches in a very interesting space of trying to keep their players to stick around for the following season.
So Nick Saban, who did speak at Capitol Hill about this, he was talking about how everything that he believed in coaching for the last 50 years, everything he taught, everything that he based his coaching style around is not the case anymore. Because you're right, you have always been able to transfer, but it used to mostly be used because if you moved up from FCS to FBS, you could play immediately. If you were a senior and you were transferring, you could play immediately. But other than that, you had to sit out a year. So players wouldn't use it as much because you're losing a year of reps, losing a year of whatever. And they used to use it for more legitimate reasons than, I just didn't play my freshman year. But, it was a very uncommon thing up until like late 90s, early 2000s for anyone to play their freshman year. It was a very special thing. It was a huge deal because, Herschel Walker didn't even start the first half of the season his freshman year. And then he came in, exploded onto the scene.
Right.
So like it used to be only your elite of elite players were playing as freshmen. But now everyone kind of expects to either play right away or be on that track right away. And what Nick Saban was talking about at Capitol Hill part of it, like he said that he thought they were going to have a great team next year. He was not planning on retiring at all. That was not part of his plan. But then he was meeting with players, and 70 to 80% of them were asking, well, how much are you going to pay me? Or what kind of playing time can you promise me? And it wasn't about getting better. It wasn't about getting better as a player. It wasn't about getting better as a person, which is what Coach Saban built his philosophy around for his 50 years of coaching. So we're at a spot in college football now where they're not only, you got transfers going crazy, you got the NIL going crazy, but at the same time, now you got a 12-team playoff, which I understand the bowls don't mean anything anymore, but as someone who did in the minority love the BCS era, it's hard to watch this where bowl games don't matter. They are going to incorporate some more bowl games, but it's, the smaller teams, that's a lot what the bowl games were for. You used to get to, travel with your team. The season ticket holders would go. It was just a fun time, an excuse to go to Orlando, right. Just something like that. But now none of that matters anymore. And I know a lot of people say the more the merrier, more good football. It's not going to be more good football. There are going to be 14 teams in, and I know this is speculation, but there will never be a 14th seed upset like if it's going to be 1 and 2 get the bye, and then 3 is going to play 14. That upset's probably not going to happen because in college football, there's a huge difference between the teams in the top 5 and the teams that are just barely scratching the top 15.
Like basement and top floor.
Yes, exactly. What about you, Hart?
So when I saw Nick Saban at the at Capitol Hill, basically I took that as and my thought process and what I was thinking really went into line with what you were saying. Like Nick Saban had this way and this philosophy of coaching football players. Now you look at the collegiate standpoint where, again, like I just stated earlier in the segment, it's all about branding now. That's what this thing is all about. It's all about branding. It's all about marketing for themselves to get themselves in position to make the most maximum amount of dollars possible. So now with this whole nameness, likeness, image thing that has just blown up.
Yeah.
Not so much in just football, but in just across the NCAA period.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
now when you have a guy like Nick Saban, who's won over close to 300 college football games in his career, he's in your living room and you're telling him or asking him, how much money am I going to get out of this?
Yes.
And how much playing time am I going to get? Now, we can also flip the script on this too, because it's almost as if Nick Saban is pouting about how these football players are making business moves when college football and basketball coaches have been making these business moves since the turn of time, since the beginning of time. We don't talk about that. And you have certain players who have gone to a certain school just to play for a certain coach. Now, because of business between the school and the coach, if he does get fired, he chooses to walk away for whatever reason. And now it seems as though that the table has turned where these players, they want to just up and leave because they know that they can do so without suffering any consequences or repercussions. So to me, it was almost as if Nick Saban, he was pouting about, it's almost as if the control that he once had, he doesn't have that anymore, which led to him retiring.
Yeah, I think pouting is the super wrong word. I don't think he was pouting. I think he was asked to talk and he gave his opinions. Even when the transfer portal and the NIL took off, he still had number 1 and number 2 rating recruiting classes. So he still used it to his advantage, but he's still just pointing out what was wrong with it. He's not pouting. He is just stating that they don't care about learning how to be leaders and developing as young men. They care about how much they're getting paid and how much exposure they're getting.
Yeah, marketing, branding, yes.
Yeah, that's not what I'm, but like pouting is, and you're talking about the greatest college football coach of all time. So, like, he wasn't just sitting there pouting. There are obvious problems with college football right now, obvious problems with the NIL, obvious problems with the transfer portal. All he was doing was calling it out when he was asked to at Capitol Hill.
Yeah, he was calling out and asked about it. Okay, he did that. Now, for all I know, that could be the reason why he ran off.
Ran off when he is almost 75. He was there for 17, 18 seasons and won 6 national championships. That's not running off. That's just hanging the boots up.
Really? This came out of nowhere. There was no form of whispers.
There's been speculation since 2021. That is incorrect. There's been speculation since 2021 that he was about to retire.
Okay, so then explain to me why that he just wanted to retire out of nowhere.
He told the athletic director. The athletic director was on the phone with Kalen DeBoer and Mike Norvell, but like the night of the Rose Bowl or therefore after. He had given him hints and he had told him this wasn't out of nowhere. But at the same time, this isn't the college football he went up coaching, and we're about to go into a new era with the 12-team or whatever. He doesn't need to be involved in that. He's done everything he had to do. It wasn't out of nowhere.
He doesn't want to be involved in that because it changed. Now, for all we know, outside looking in, all this does is simply change the way as to how he can compete and how can that put him in position to win and succeed.
He was still competing when all this new stuff came around. So he was never going to not compete. For the whole time, all 3 years, he retired because he's old and wants to spend time with his family in his lake house. And 70 to 80% of players were sitting there asking him how much money they were going to make or they were going to transfer. College football does not have the principles that he grew up on. It's not him just running away. The man is almost 75 years old. He's been coaching for 50 years. He's won 6 at Bama. He won 1 at LSU. He has done all he needed to do for the sport and is the greatest of all time. You sitting here disrespecting him looks worse on you than it does on Nick Saban.
Well, first of all, I could care less how many championships he's won and the fact that he's closing in on 300 college football wins. Okay, that's first of all. Second of all, didn't Joe Paterno kept on coaching at Penn State until somewhere around 80?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they're two different guys, but Nick Saban wanted to spend time with his family, which he had never really been able to do.
Well, that's the sacrifice of being a collegiate coach.
And he made the sacrifice for 50 years.
Yes, he did. Now, here's my point is, it still doesn't change the fact that outside looking in, he doesn't have to necessarily say this, but outside looking in, with the dynamics of college football changing, outside looking in, it seems as though that he realized that because of the way things have changed, that all of a sudden it doesn't look like I'm going to be at a advantage to win. And there's one thing that I've noticed about Alabama Crimson Tide football, that fan base does not take losing very well. One of the greatest college football coaches of all time, Bear Bryant, he was on the hot seat just because he had some back-to-back losing seasons until he won 3 straight national titles on his way out the door to retirement.
Nope. Nick Saban just made a business move and decided he is too old. He can't put up with it anymore. He told Miss Terry he was too old for this, which was well published. You can say what you want, but at the end of the day, we're talking about the greatest coach of all time. He didn't run away. He walked away after 17 years when he was just done. He was too tired and he did not want to do it anymore. But either way, as we go forward into this, what's going to be a 12-team playoff this year and then a 14-team playoff next year, how do you feel about that with it going in that direction? Do you think the more the merrier, or what do you think about that?
Well, first of all, another reason why I think Nick Saban retired is
I changed subjects. I transitioned and changed subjects.
I know that you changed subject. That's one of my reasons as to why I believe Nick Saban transitioned out the way that he did, seemingly unannounced and unnoticed.
It wasn't out of nowhere.
Seemingly. All right. Now, pertaining to this whole college football thing, it was always just 4. And once upon a time, it was a computer that kind of like dictated who would play in the national title game.
It wasn't always 4. It was 4 for the last 10 years.
So as I was saying, it was always a computer that had dictated who would play in the national title game. Now, for whatever worth, however long it was, whether it was recently or even much longer than that, now all of a sudden you have a committee picking and choosing who plays in this for playoff system, and it was always a uproar as to who it was that was left out, always making cases as to why they should have been in and who was in and why they should not have been in there in the first place. So now we go from 4. At first I heard rumors of 8 and 6, and now it's going to be 12, and now it's going to expand to 14. Well, it's a good idea, but I'm not really okay with this. I was never really okay with this whole playoff system just for the picking and the choosing.
Yeah.
And which it goes back to the whole branding and the marketing. If you didn't have Alabama and or Georgia in the playoff system they had last year, then there was this great fear that you wasn't going to have the ratings that you would have because nobody wanted to watch. So you had one of those two teams. You had Alabama in it. Okay, yes. Now, Alabama did not go to the promised land, winning the title, et cetera, but nonetheless, they had a good year. And kudos to knocking off a team that was on the verge of winning football games for 3 seasons straight.
Yeah.
That is remarkable.
Absolutely.
But now things has changed to where these teams that was outside looking in, like a Florida State, who I think they went undefeated last season.
They did. They went.
Yeah. And UFC, they gave themselves a parade. UCF, they gave themselves a parade just because they went undefeated. But at the same time, they also felt disrespected because they felt that they had what it take to at least go to the dance.
Yes, earn it, yes.
Yeah. Right. So now when you opening up the playing field, how would this look? Like, will this be even more intense and more in-depth picking and choosing? Because you look at the so-called strength of schedule. I keep hearing the phrase strength of schedule to determine who gets in and who gets left out. And not everybody is playing Power 5 college football week in and week out. Now, you look at what does it take to be bowl eligible, you got to win 6 games.
Yep.
But if you are that good as advertised as what the so-called football experts are saying, then do you really need to soften up your schedule at the start of the year just to get yourself in position to win 6 games?
Exactly. And so I agree with you on that front, but also something else you were saying, like because even though like I am an SEC guy, I don't want to see a 9-3 Texas A&M sneak in at number 14 just because, they played Bama or they played Georgia or they played these other top teams. It's just like, my fear is that the SEC and the Big Ten, especially with the addition of Oklahoma and Texas and then UCLA, Oregon, Washington, and USC in the Big Ten, that they might each get like 3 or 4 in, even if those teams really didn't earn it. The only thing that they did to earn it was go 9-3 in the Big Ten or the SEC.
The key word, what you just said, is earn.
Yeah.
Like just eliminate the picking and the choosing.
Yeah.
I think the picking and the choosing by this college football committee comes down to branding and marketing.
Now,
what teams or schools that most of the country is going to watch?
Now, okay, so last year there was a caveat, but 5 teams earned their way into the playoffs.
Yeah.
5 teams.
But those 4 slots.
Yes, one of them got left out. So that's 100% correct. But last year, which is crazy with it being the year before we expanded, was the first time that 5th team really deserved to be in there if you really look at everything. Because you look, a 2-loss team never made the playoff. They never did. Every time the 5th-ranked team was 2-loss. Like, a lot of people will throw in Cincinnati. Cincinnati deserved it. They went undefeated for those 2 straight years, and then that number 5 was an 11-2 Baylor team coming off the Big 12 championship. So you look, they always did do it off of who the 4 best and most deserving teams were, but some fans, just because their team wasn't in it, like I know Texas A&M fans were mad in 2020 when Notre Dame got in over them, but they got absolutely what I would call daddy smacked by Alabama during the season that year. Alabama was still number 1 going in. Notre Dame hadn't played Bama. Notre Dame played Clemson twice, won one, lost one in the ACC championship. I still think they deserve to be in over Notre Dame. But no one will bring up, like you talked about before we went on air, Ohio State only played 6 games that year.
Yeah. Yeah, now also, who is the more one of the more notable schools out of the Big Ten.
Ohio State. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they did.
Again, it's a whole branding thing. Now,
Yeah.
if you really want to see who's good, why not just open the whole field up? Let college football take a page out of college basketball, NCAA style, a pool of 64 teams or something like that, and then they're all just competing to determine who is the best. Now, let's not go 64. Let's go 25. The number one team, they get the bye, and then you just compete and let it go that way, and it will make these bowl games more compelling to watch.
That is just insane, in my opinion. But
let's give it a shot then.
This is why we have fun here, right, Harp?
Yes, let's give it a shot. I mean,
anyways, so coming up next, we got just something about malls. I think Jay Holloway keeps me on my toes every single week. I don't know what's coming up, but I know it'll be fun. We'll be right back after this.
Military veteran wanting to get into the broadcasting industry? I'm Tim Nunn, director at Complete Game Broadcasting, GI Bill approved, and helping veterans with the skills for a career change. Your broadcasting adventure can begin after our 9-week lifetime membership class. For more information, go to CompleteGameStudio.com or call me at 404-929-0523. Again, that's CompleteGameStudio.com, 404-929-0523.
Are you tired of spreadsheets, boring endless video conferences, and your boss talking about things like cost analysis and workplace efficiency? Boring! Get a head start in a new career with Complete Game Broadcasting. This 9-week all-inclusive program offers day and evening classes starting in March, June, and September. Complete Game Broadcasting offers small classes, hands-on learning, and a lifetime membership to use our studio. That's right, in 9 weeks, you can learn the skills for a new successful adventure in broadcasting. This includes on-camera and mic work, along with behind-the-scenes editing and producing. Do you like podcasts? Yes! Well, we give training in this new medium as well. Complete Game Broadcasting also will assist you in landing that next dream job in the broadcasting industry. Visit CompleteGameStudio.com or call 404-929-0523 for further information. Again, that's CompleteGameStudio.com, 404-929-0523.
This sports update is presented by Complete Game Broadcasting, training the sports voices of tomorrow. And here's what sports fans are talking about.
CGB Live Update. The SEC tournament wrapped up yesterday as the Auburn Tigers took the crown for the second time under head coach Bruce Pearl. It was an intriguing tournament as all the top 3 seeds, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Alabama, did not make it out of their first games. The Dogs saw their end in the second round against eventual runner-up and arch rival Florida. The NCAA tournament will kick off with Wagner and Howard in the first 4 on the 19th at 6:40. In news from the Diamond, UGA softball and third baseman Sarah Mosley had a great weekend as they came very close to sweeping Alabama, but still did take the series 2-1. Mosley picked up 6 RBIs and made some great defensive plays over the weekend. They'll be back in action Wednesday against Georgia Southern at 6, where it'll be Mean Girls Night at the Jack. In NBA news, the Hawks picked up a huge win against the Clippers last night, getting revenge for the loss back in early February. DeJounte Murray was the star of the day, getting a double-double with a team-high 21 points and 10 assists. The Hawks will continue a hunt for the playoff berth tonight at 10:30 against the Lakers. That was Jackson Logan, you in the know with your CGB Live Update.
The sports news from today.
Ryan to throw. Over the middle. Oh, what a catch inside the 5-yard line by Tony G.
The voices of tomorrow.
Former Falcon Tony Gonzalez, the best tight end to ever play the position.
This is Gonzalez to the 5, touchdown. Stop it, Tony.
You're listening to On Deck, presented by Complete Game Broadcasting. This sports update is presented by Complete Game Broadcasting, training the sports voices of.
What's next? What's next? Shay Holloway in the building, y'all. Hey, so fellas, did y'all recognize it was 2 holidays this past weekend?
No.
So what was the most popular? I mean, what was yesterday?
We got St. Patrick's Day yesterday.
Did you know there was a holiday on Saturday?
No.
Okay, so about 4 or 5 o'clock, and I'm chilling Saturday. Just had like a long week, just trying to decompress. Literally doing nothing Saturday. So about 4 or 5 o'clock, the day's almost over. I discovered that Saturday was National Everything I Do Is Right Day.
Wow.
Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It sounds like a holiday for women, but go on.
You have to expand on that. But what I'm saying is, I had this calendar a few years back and there are all these quirky holidays. Today is this day, pizza day. Thursday was Pie Day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I don't know how I ran across this or whatever. Say, everything that you do is right. So I'm like, can I get in the car and do 100 and cop pull me over?
No.
Just whatever. It's like this can create total mayhem. So maybe it's probably a good thing it wasn't widely promoted.
I mean,
celebrated.
To kind of go along with HARP, I think my girlfriend celebrates that every day of the year, no matter if it's March 16th. Yeah, I think she's already on that trend.
Already on it, huh? Yeah, they're always right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
What say you, Hart? He's looking like I don't want to get fined. He's just that beast mode thing.
Yes. I'm here so I don't get fined. But my question is, this isn't the first thing isn't the first time that we came across this national day. Like you just brought this to my attention. So now we have National Best Friend Day, National Sibling Day, National Hug Day, National Hot Dog Day, National Oreo Day. Who is the committee that is putting these holidays together, and what are their credentials?
What would we do on National HARP Day?
That's a good question.
Go get some lemon pepper chicken wings. Excuse me.
The barbecue
and lemon pepper chicken wings.
From a certain establishment.
If you know.
From a certain establishment.
I gotcha.
Right. No, man, just really, really tripping on this because it's so many different holidays, whether they're widely celebrated or not, man. That's all it is. And I thought about all the kind of stuff I could have, taken with that other than just having like a down day to unwind and whatnot. I mean, I could have went to the park and hung out. I could have went to the mall, and I'm like, who really goes to the mall anymore?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
Teenagers with no job.
Okay, that used to be me when I was a teenager.
You got a job now, huh?
Many moons ago.
Yeah.
And I don't go.
Yeah.
And when I go to a mall now with the kids or something every now and then, I feel so weird. I hadn't been in one of these things in like 20 years because everything is Amazon or Walmart and Prime. Well, that's Amazon. And all these different things. So you're ordering shoes and stuff online, and women are ordering clothes online, and men are ordering suits online. That's not really that brick and mortar. And that was a big deal back in the day. I just saw an article where this company, Simon, is going to put $400 million, like a $400 million facelift into like the nation's oldest mall. There was already a nice mall. I'm like, what can you do with $400 million? I'll peruse through the article.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, on that tip, I know what I can do with $400 million. But for a facelift for an already existing mall, what can you do? You gonna put a spaceship in it or something? I don't know.
You would never come off vacation with $400 million.
Never.
You would be all around the world. You wouldn't even come back to Georgia, would you?
No, wouldn't be no need to. Wouldn't be any need to, man.
There would be a Dairy Queen in my house.
A DQ?
Yes.
What commercial is that? The guy has 2 Taco Bells in his.
Oh, it's Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I love that
that's a funny commercial.
Yeah, I love that commercial. Worked at Taco Bell as a kid, so that one, struck a chord with me when I saw it. But yeah, this whole mall thing, they say they're gonna put in some living space. And you might hear this phrase nowadays: live, work, and play. Even right here in Metro Atlanta, where they got Atlanta Station is a live, work, and play. If you know what I mean, where you really don't have to have a car. You can live there and you can play there, and I guess you can work there or whatever it is. So they'll put in some apartments, some higher line restaurants and stores and everything and make it like that. But it's still kind of far-fetched when I think of what does $400 million look like in a place that's already built.
Yeah.
Already established. I know things come and go. I've worked malls and stuff through the years, and, the structure is there. So the only thing that really changes are the vendors for the most part.
Yeah.
And things come and go, styles and stores and trends and all this kind of stuff. There was a store in the mall, I haven't seen it in a while. It's called As Seen on TV. All these little quirky products. What's the Flex Seal?
Yeah.
All those different things. Anything you would see in those TV commercials, this store sold all of it.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever heard of it or been to it?
Yes, yeah, I've heard of it. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I just thought that was clearly that probably wouldn't be a high-end store because most of those ads, at least online, on the TV, they'll sell it, tell you how great the product is, and, you can probably, put somebody's head back on with this product. And now if you buy right now, we'll give you 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah.
So you're not going to make, tons of money with that. You know what I mean?
I remember I actually did go into one when I was younger. They used to have this ad on Nickelodeon for it was like a Ouija or some type of ball that was supposed to be magic. You can do all this stuff with it, play it around, whatever. And then I just found it on TikTok recently, and it was crazy because I seen this commercial all the time growing up.
Right.
And it turned out you could buy it at that store. Right. And the first thing it said when it opened the instructions is that this is a very complex process. Not everybody can do this, even though the commercial was you can do what I'm doing. And it was
right.
But it was a super unique skill that you had to watch videos and videos and videos to really get down.
Man, shout out to those marketing geniuses that ploy on little kids, man. When I was a kid, anything that was out at the time, the remote control cars, the games or whatever, you just felt like you had to have it. Life wasn't going to be the same if you didn't get this on Christmas morning, birthday, or whatever it is. And after a while, it kind of wears off. I was that kid with the remote control cars or whatever. After I get not necessarily bored, but after the hype goes away, then I want to find one of my dad's screwdriver and not tear it apart, but take it apart.
Yes.
Sometimes you can put it back together, sometimes not. And when they see you not playing with them more, you're like, what? And they find out you broke it.
Yeah. My granddad used to give me those all the time, and I think I took apart and at least attempted to put back together every single one that I got.
Yes. That's what a game changes. Not necessarily bored with it, but I just want to see the inner workings of it. Maybe I can make it better.
Yes.
Well, maybe better graphics on the Atari. You guys probably don't know what Atari is.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Oh, okay.
It was before.
Graphics are so gross it'll make you vomit.
Didn't they have an ET game on the Atari?
They had an ET game.
Yeah. I heard that was bad. I heard that was really bad.
Anybody that's in my age group that knows Atari, and I mean, you guys are blessed, fortunate to come into the era of what was your first video game system? Your first gaming system?
Super Nintendo.
Oh, you came in at a pretty good time.
PlayStation 2.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm still rocking the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's not broke.
I
remember when it came out.
Yeah,
yes.
I logged in so many hours on NCAA 04, the football one. That was. Oh my gosh, they had this little trick pass and graphics were bad, whatever.
Yeah. No, graphics was great.
Okay.
During that time, yes.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Both of those platforms that were great for somebody who came in the Atari era.
Yes. So you could, but they had more older playbooks with older teams. They had the '92 Bama team under Gene Stallings.
Yeah.
And they had their playbook. And there was one play where you did a double pass to the receiver and he was supposed to pass it. But there was no one covering you. I never, because you had to press X and then the receivers would pop up that you could pass it.
Exactly.
I never pressed X. I would run it down the sideline and gain 50 yards every time because no one was covering that one.
Huh?
Yeah, that one guy. But I would always, I got so mad because I was using the regular Alabama playbook and I couldn't find that play. And then once I finally realized, I never used a different playbook.
When Harp said Super Nintendo, I thought about, I think it was Bill Walsh's NCAA football or something it was. And I would play with the Florida State Seminoles. And that was the team to play with. I can't really remember much else about it, but when you said Super Nintendo, if I didn't play with Madden, of course that Madden was the standard pretty much. I played with that. But I recalling the first PlayStation, I guess PS1 if you call it that.
Yeah.
Before I even had Madden, I had Game Day. It was the bus on the Jerome Bettis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a pretty good game. But I popped that in some years back, and the graphics made me nauseous. It just shows how much this stuff just keeps evolving and evolving.
Yes.
So you guys, to say Super Nintendo on the left here and PS2 on the right, God, I remember the day they came out and everybody's waiting in line and all this stuff. I was in Missouri, long story. But you guys came in at a pretty good time.
Yes.
And, a pretty good level, as I would say.
Absolutely. Well, and then a lot of people went from PS2, Xbox 360 to PS4 was like what a lot of people did.
Right.
And I agree, I came in at a good time because it was like I was like 8 when the Xbox 360 came out.
Okay.
And for what it was with the motor it ran on and everything, I still think it might be the best gaming console that's ever came out.
Yeah. I had an old head tell me, he said Xbox was like for the adults. He just said, he was like, just theory. It didn't make any sense to me. He said, well, Xbox is made by Microsoft. They make computers and everything.
Yeah.
And Sony makes, da-da-da. So that's why it's called a PlayStation for kids. So he basically like, this is an adult gaming system. And I'm like, well, they got the same title. You're not talking about Grand Theft Auto, right? That's across the board. What are you talking about? But he was just, jiving.
I know. I
was
got
like,
you.
okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So good, good stuff, man. I mean, games are ways to escape. And I don't know how you guys feel about it. I know I had a conversation with older couple of years back. We were talking about some of those games that they get us in trouble. Well, not necessarily get us in trouble, but the Grand Theft Autos. One of my favorites at the time was Driver, where you're like a getaway driver.
Yeah.
And I played it because this one had Miami on. Of course, I know the streets of Miami. I could run all over. But it's like, oh, that's horrible. It leads you, whatever. And I said, it's just like entertainment, rated R movies and music with the explicit lyric, parental advisory and everything. I said, I ain't know right from wrong. This is just entertainment. I'm not going to play anything, any game, watch any movie, or listen to anything and go out and do something crazy the other day. I mean, tomorrow I know this is just entertainment. Yes. I know better.
Well, and, it's actually, off that, it's really funny to me because, people who are parents now, who their parents told them that, rock and roll music was rotting their brains. It was all about sex and drugs and this and that. Right. And, whatever, have turned into those parents about rap, which I think is really, really, really funny.
Wow. I think as we get older, there's certain things, that I'll tell my daughter, say you shouldn't be listening to that. But I say, you guys in the era where you don't have to buy a whole tape or whatever, you can listen to it. You can get the clean versions and whatnot like that will play on the radio, so you really don't have to listen to all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now that's where I say that's where the kids got it made, because there was a point in time where, let's say you wanted to have a certain ringtone, or like a certain song, you had to actually use a blank cassette tape.
Yeah.
And then put that in the boombox, have it queued up, set and ready to go. Then you had to turn to that radio station that is going to play that song that you want to hear. And it took a lot of focus and concentration to make sure that you catch it on time at the beginning and run it all the way through. These kids today don't know anything about that. I don't think these kids today know how sometimes the struggle it was to roll up a window manually.
Or what a dial tone sounds like.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what a dial tone sounds like?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Jackson saying no, he doesn't know what a dial tone sounds like.
I come from an era where we're going to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, this life just keeps evolving, man. As a kid, man, I would get on the bus and catch a bus and go to my favorite music store. And I'd buy vinyl or cassette singles or CD singles and stuff. And now you can just... If you want to buy it in that era, we're coming out of the iTunes thing where you can buy it. You don't even have to go anywhere, right? You know what I mean?
Stay inside, which back in those days, going out kind of helped with your social skills. Now we have a lot of things to where you can just stay in the house and don't go anywhere. And now people have become more challenged socially because they're not around people face-to-face, person-to-person, because anybody can just say whatever they want to say behind a laptop or a keypad, but at the same time, like, when you're around that person physically, like we are now,
right?
All of a sudden, people's social anxiety goes awry, and it's like, I mean, there's good things that comes with technology, and then there's also been some things to stunt people's growth.
So would you guys agree that technology is a blessing and a curse? That's
Yeah.
what I think it is.
Yeah. I completely
Kind of like
agree.
women, yes.
My woman is only a blessing.
Yes.
I gotta
Yes.
throw that out there.
There's something biblically. I just heard it this morning on Proverbs. He who finds a wife finds
a good thing.
I just heard it this morning.
Yeah.
But
And Proverbs 31 pretty much just breaks down as to what a virtuous woman, how she should carry herself and what she should do on a daily basis for herself, for her husband, and for her family altogether.
Right. So Proverbs itself is a book of wisdom.
Yes.
You could take that out of the word itself and have, life instructions.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But, you know what, back to the technology piece, man, when I think about it just being a great thing, like there was this company called Webvan, and it was like right at the Y2K thing. Y'all do know what Y2K is. I don't want to speak over your head, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Y2K, when it was like everybody was thinking it was the end of the world when 99 broke into 2000.
People stopped paying their bills.
Yeah, it was that. And
Yeah.
people got bottled water and potted meat and sardines and stuff. And it's like I was at a party and I woke up the next day, took my daughter to the park. I was like, I think everything's okay.
Yeah.
So for that thing. But during that time, it was a company called Webvan. They were delivering grocery. It was a good idea. It was just too early.
Yeah.
And look what we've done in the past few years with people getting the grocery delivered. I'm not ready for that per se. I would promise if I get a head of lettuce and it got any wood leaves, I'm going to promise.
Yeah,
I'm going to swear
yeah.
in my mind they gave me the wrong one. So I'm not ready for that. I can stick to maybe getting a pizza delivered every now and then. I'm just not there yet.
Yeah.
And the convenience of it is there, and that's the blessing part of it. Where you can order stuff. You can order shoes, and if they're not right, send them back, and they'll send you another pair. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to say about January is when I really started getting off into that. Instead of ordering pizza and chicken wings, I started messed around and found myself ordering groceries. Ordered some milk, ordered some cold cuts, ordered some bread, ordered some Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Lucky Charms, the best 1-2 cereal combination in the country.
Yeah,
and then I found myself, ordering Publix Deli, messed around and ordered a chicken tender wrap with cheese and bacon on it.
Yeah.
And it was
Publix is expensive as it is, so we're
Yeah.
saying it's still worth the man here is what I think what we're getting at.
That's not including
that wrap
the
cost
service
$150
fee and all that stuff that goes into it. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
this is a thing.
Yeah. That's like when you go on SeatGeek to buy a ticket and it's $20, but by the time they get done with all the fees and everything, it's like 75,
Yeah.
100.
Like what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, they get you. Yeah, it's kind of like a wolf in sheep clothing. They get you with the cheap price, but then they don't insert in the taxes and the fees and the third parties and whatever.
Well,
the next thing you know,
and that's how they get
you got to make a life decision. Do I go to this event or do I eat?
You can buy a ticket online if you go on the portal for whatever airline you choose, and if you do it online, fine, great. But if you call,
But
in
there's
and
a
do that,
fee though.
Yeah, it's a fee. But where I'm going with this, you can call in. Just say if you old school, I want to do it and call in. That same seat is going to pay about $20, $25 more. And what it is, you're paying for that person's salary that's picking up their line. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they're making the math at $25 an hour. I don't know what they're making. But you can book that same flight if you do it yourself on your smart device or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's a convenient thing, but at the same time, you were going somewhere as far as saying the people kind of sit behind the keyboards and stuff. Kids that being homeschooled, various opinions on that. Even if they're getting the grades and stuff, the social interaction is equally as important. I don't care how smart you are.
Yeah.
You still need to be able to interact with other people.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So whether that means that mom and dad, if y'all, out there in listening land, if y'all, homeschooling or whatever, still take the kid out to the park, play date, something, because that matters. It really does matter. You have all this education, but not the social interaction, and that they're hand in hand. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely, absolutely. You really do have to still, you do, whether you do homeschool, whether you do whatever, you have to teach your kids how to interact with people. And like a lot of people have gotten anxious, scared, paranoid, but even as parents, just these parents who do homeschool are just sheltering their kids and teaching them that everything outside is evil. You get what I'm saying? And that, you scare kids into thinking that there's more evil in the world than there is good, and that's really not the case.
You got a good point. you got a good point. That, you know what I would say to my kids, anybody, if you guys are thinking about becoming parents, if you don't have kids.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is the thing. You know, it's a big crazy world out here, but it's still good in the world. You know, it's still good. It's not all bad. It's bad out here. Let's keep it real now.
Oh yeah.
You know,
and oftentimes the bad is overshadowed by the good.
Okay, yeah, that's just how it goes. I mean, blood and gut cells, right? That's what you're gonna see on the news, doom and gloom.
Blood cells and sex. I mean, you know, bad news sells. Bad news, it will spread a lot quicker than good news. I mean, one of us could save 6 crackheads from a burning building. Yeah. But let one of us go streaking in church mid-service. What's going to hit CNN faster? The sanctuary streaker or the crackhead savior? I mean, which one is going to spread faster?
You think about going to church that Sunday? You might have been thinking about that. But
no. If there was one thing I thought about doing and that really wasn't bad.
What was that?
Well, that really wasn't good.
What was that?
For the record, I never did. But you know how, you know when people are running in the church.
Yeah.
And you know.
Pentecostals.
And there were times where I would go to church and people are running like full speed, and I would sit on the end of the pew.
Oh no.
What y'all known for?
Yeah, I know what you're about to say.
You don't know what I'm about to say.
I know what you're about to say.
And then all of a sudden, you just feel the urge to, stretch your leg out.
Yeah.
As you see somebody come in and hoping that, they catch it and then they fall down.
So,
I never did that. It was just a thought.
You know what I was imagining him saying? I can't remember the dude's name, but it was like Terry something. Office linebacker. The office linebacker. That's what I was expecting him to say. Just someone's running around. Boom!
Yeah, got to watch this if you don't talk. Was he a real player?
No, he was just
you're talking about that commercial?
Yeah.
It's a Reebok ad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was
Terry Tate. Yeah, Terry Tate.
Yeah, because there was this one dude who would just Ray Lewising everybody just because they didn't do every detail of their job.
That's him. That's him. Yeah.
That was a funny ad, man.
I sat there on YouTube and I watched all of those, over the course. I thought it was the funniest.
It's old, but I forget about it.
Yeah, I don't know what's more funnier, that or Dikembe Mutombo in an office building. He just swatting everything. They're like,
no,
everything. A box of cereal. A paper ball. Yeah. I mean, if there's anything flying in the air, he's swatting at it.
Well, and you remember the old, guess what day it is? Hump Day with the camel.
The Campbell.
Yeah, that took the world by storm for some reason.
Sometimes it's just the funny, silliest things that catch a fire, man.
Oh yeah, the Jake from State Farm at 3 a.m. What are you wearing? Khakis.
Well, she's a guy.
She's a guy.
Was hilarious.
It just takes off, man.
What about that Todd commercial where the drill sergeant is drilling his people, and one of the soldiers had a stain on his shirt, and then someone just pulls out a Tide pen. Now behind the drill sergeant's back, the guy, he kind of just applies the pen to where the stain was, and then when the drill sergeant comes back, the private's like, "Sir, what stain, sir?" And then the drill sergeant's like, "Oh, what they do? Send me a dang on Houdini."
Hey,
I didn't see that one.
That is hilarious.
Mr. Derek is with you, Jay Holloway. Yeah. He's not ready to order groceries yet either. He ain't ready for that life.
Yeah, we're just not ready yet, man.
No,
I think it's great, it's convenient, and that's those things. There's some things that are there I'm just not all the way with, and some things, we are. When you look at the food order, I mean, for the most part, the only thing I've ever been accustomed to getting delivered was pizza. But now with DoorDash, you can order stuff from mom and pops.
You can order stuff from Quick Trip. You can order stuff from a Quick Trip now.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I did not ever do the groceries one, but when I lived in Athens, I was an avid DoorDash user. I got everything from there. My favorite thing, I got American Deli all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I used to love American Deli, but I did take it too far, and I've kind of took a step back now. But once you get into that habit, it's hard to get out of.
We just hitting a button and somebody bring you stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You might see I saw on the news one time this kid ordered like a milkshake or something from like Ice Cold Creamery, one of those.
Cold Stone.
Cold Stone. And the ring camera showed the guy walking up, but he was sipping it from. He was sipping from him. He's walking up to the door. And I said, I guess he got to taste it for delivery. And I said, see that right there? Nah.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, and then like Insomnia was like open all night, but they were like it was the cookie place.
Okay.
So like at 1 a.m, I was like not sober, and I was ordering cookies. Yeah.
He was inebriated.
Yeah. And I was ordering cookies, and they had their own driver, so they were on DoorDash, but they didn't use DoorDash drivers. But if they were busy, they just pretended you didn't get it till like 4 a.m. Really? So like I was like, okay, these aren't coming. So I did it on the app. I got my money back, whatever.
Yeah.
I wake up the next day to a text at like 4:15 that was like, hey, your cookies are on the front. And I opened the front, the cookies are sitting right there. And I'm like, y'all were like 3 hours late. Just keep the cookies, you know? Like, I don't need them now. I still ate them, but I didn't need them.
Yeah. You still ate them, though, right?
That part.
You guys ever been to, was it Crumble Cookies? That pink place?
Yeah.
Isn't that pretty neat little operation?
It is. It is pretty cool.
It's like an Apple store, but for cookies. Have you ever been to it? It's all pink, and they have a cookie of the day or something like that. Yeah. And you order into this kiosk. It's really high tech. It's a really high tech cookie store.
Have you all ever been to Krispy Kreme before?
Oh, but of course.
Yeah.
The Hot and Now.
Yeah.
The coveted Hot and Now sign.
You know, new stuff can be good, Harp.
Yeah, but, just stop and think about how Krispy Kreme operates. And I dare say Waffle House. Like, we all know about Waffle House.
Yeah.
We all know about Krispy Kreme.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen or heard of advertisement coming from Krispy Kreme?
Don't need it.
Why? Because word of mouth.
It's the Hot and Now.
Because you already know what that red light means.
Have you ever been to a Waffle House? When I first moved to Atlanta, they would like yell out the orders. I don't see that as much anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Someone typically approaches you, and unless they're really hood and ratchet, and they about to end their shift, then you got to yell what your order is, while they're on the other end of the store. But yeah, someone typically comes up to you and say, "Hey, what's your order?"
Now I get it. Just out of genuine curiosity, Jay Holloway, what's your Waffle House order?
Probably a patty melt or a Texas cheese melt.
Texas, yeah.
And the hash browns, since they don't do fries, I try to say steam them. Most places won't steam them.
Yeah.
But steam them with everything except jalapenos and chili.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Their grit or their hash brown bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I get 2 of them. One with chicken and the other one with bacon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do like the hash brown bowl. This is like a southern sin, but I do not like grits. I do not like grits at all.
Wow. And you're from down south?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not my favorite thing. And like my dad loves them, but he would stick like half a stick of butter in there. He would just cut it open and as it melted down in there. And I'm like, you're not even eating grits. You're eating butter. Yeah.
Butter with
I don't know what to say about that.
Hey, it's a corn.
That's one thing if you either like them salty or sweet. But not at all.
Nah, that sugar thing. I mean, as a kid, I tried it, but no, it's a way about it.
I've been told it's the gospel, but I grew up with my grits salty, so I just stuck with salt.
Yeah, you got to try it, man. You can even smash up a avocado up in it. It's pretty cool stuff. My lady turned me on that.
Yeah, that's where the needle goes off the record.
All kind of different things.
I took one bite of avocado and I said never again.
Oh man, I do I like doing the toast and like maybe pimento cheese and putting avocados on it with it. And then like every Mexican restaurant I go to, I want guacamole every time. The chunkier, the better. Like,
man, fun fact: I grew up with an avocado tree in my backyard, and I would throw them away until I started working at Taco Bell. And this kind of stuff. I just never cared for them. You know what I mean? But, hey, I got an appreciation for them now later in life. Now I got to buy them now.
Yeah. Or you could order them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Use that technology, right?
Yeah.
But no one's going to deliver them for free when I had them in my backyard as a kid.
No.
You probably shouldn't tell anybody that because one of my grandfathers, he had a lemon tree in his house. In his backyard.
I had 2 lemon trees. Mm-hmm. And growing up in South Florida, Shan said your Southern card is revoked, I guess, for the grits. So, man, I tried to help you.
I accept it. I appreciate your effort, Jay Holloway. I really do.
I grew up, man, with 2 lemon trees, a navel orange tree, a Japanese plum tree, and an avocado tree. And you know what I mean? It's like, hey, it's just whatever. Stuff just grows. Where's the place with plenty of sunshine and rain? you can just throw something on the ground, it's going to grow pretty much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like a special place in that regard. But yeah, so the stuff that we end up paying for, like I hate paying for mangoes up here because they never taste like the ones that you get off of some neighbor's tree. They never taste. They always taste watered down and whatnot here. You know what I mean? But sometimes it comes down to having to purchase that thing that you took for granted. You know what I mean?
Yeah. and another thing with all this technology is causing people to not want to cook.
Yeah, absolutely, getting away from
cook
that.
something.
Right.
Does this generation know how to cook?
Yeah.
Does this generation know how to sustain through the test of time without technology?
Hey, we'll see, because there's always supposed to be an app for that. That's the answer, right?
Exactly. There's an app for everything. But was there an app as an 8-year-old in the 90s trying to read an atlas?
Right. We'll see. Well, coming back in a few minutes, we're going to have my guy harping on sports. I think he's going to be on some bracket racket or whatever, but we'll be back. Jay Holloway, Jackson, Harp, CGB Live on deck.
Military veteran wanting to get into the broadcasting industry? I'm Tim Nunn, Director at Complete Game Broadcasting. GI Bill approved and helping veterans with the skills for a career change. Your broadcasting adventure can begin after our 9-week lifetime membership class. For more information, go to CompleteGameStudio.com or call me at 404-929-0523. Again, that's CompleteGameStudio.com, 404-929-0523.
Are you tired of spreadsheets, boring endless video conferences, and your boss talking about things like cost analysis and workplace efficiency? Boring! Get a head start in a new career with Complete Game Broadcasting. This 9-week all-inclusive program offers day and evening classes starting in March, June, and September. Complete Game Broadcasting offers small classes, hands-on learning, and a lifetime membership to use our studio. That's right, in 9 weeks, you can learn the skills for a new successful adventure in broadcasting. This includes on-camera and mic work, along with behind-the-scenes editing and producing. Do you like podcasts? Yes! Well, we give training in this new medium as well. Complete Game Broadcasting also will assist you in landing that next dream job in the broadcasting industry. Visit CompleteGameStudio.com or call 404-929-0523 for further information. Again, that's CompleteGameStudio.com, 404-929-0523.
This sports update is presented by Complete Game Broadcasting, training the sports voices of tomorrow. And here's what sports fans are talking about.
Once again, it's your man, Jay Holloway, with the On Deck Sports Update on CGB Live. Legend Iron Mike Tyson has received a medical warning to not fight a, quote, problem child 30 years his junior. Jake Paul, UFC star and the champ, are scheduled to rumble July 20th at what we know as Jerry's World in Arlington, Texas. Now dig this. Tyson, who hasn't had a bout in 20 years, appeared to be in decent shape on a recent social media post. We just have to wait and see how that turns out, guys. On to not so good college football news. Newly hired Michigan defensive line coach Greg Scruggs was arrested for alleged DWI over the weekend in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Scruggs' previous coaching stints were most recently with Wisconsin and the New York Jets in 2022. We here hope he gets the help he needs as he's currently suspended pending an investigation per head coach Sharon Moore. Lastly, and good and or at least interesting college football news, Coach Prime won't fly out for the tryouts. I repeat, Coach Prime won't fly out for the tryouts. The Colorado coach, Deion Sanders, perhaps you've heard of him, hasn't visited a single potential recruit or have used the private air travel service allotted for him in his contract. He has been able to recruit creme de la creme without leaving Boulder. We got to talk about this, guys, because Coach Jim Harbaugh has made 145 off-campus visits during this same period of time. This is Jay Holloway with your On Deck Sports Update, CGB Live, y'all.
Welcome back to the third and final segment of Harping on, we're not harping on sports, but I'm about to do that. I almost forgot where I am. This is CGB Live. He's Jackson. He's Jay Holloway.
Yes, sir.
I'm the only one who has a name that doesn't have a J in it, but it's all good. Our producer, Jay, Josh, he is behind the glass. So, all right. That's a very interesting sports update.
Yeah, it is.
You talk about the impact that one Deion Sanders have.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and like we talked about earlier, you talk about someone who has really exposed the whole transfer portal thing to what it is now. Yeah. To where now players are bouncing around from team to team, like it's free agency almost, and it's very interesting to see if the impact that he had in terms of exposing that and bringing that to light, will that help him or will that, blow up in his face?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at it's just funny bringing that up. Look at JT Daniels, because he was at USC. Mm-hmm. Then he transferred to Georgia. Then he transferred to West Virginia. Then he transferred to Rice. So he played for 4 different teams throughout his career.
Yeah. Yeah, and the way things are looking, this is the future of not so much college football, but college athletics.
Yes.
I mean, we talked about Nick Saban retiring about a year or two ago in basketball. Roy Williams and Mike Krzyzewski.
Yeah.
They retired, and they retire at the beginning of this whole thing turning into what is going to become. So now, if you are a college coach in whatever sport, one of your biggest things in the offseason, especially if you had a good season, a good regular season, you got to find a way to keep the players that you want to keep them on your roster, because now they know if things go slightly left in the slightest to make them uncomfortable, they out of here.
Yeah. You're not only trying to recruit players to come to your university,
but you're trying
also
to keep them.
Trying to recruit players to stay at your university.
Yeah.
You're pulling double duty now as a college head coach.
Yeah, but Deion Sanders, I mean, that's one of his more memorable moments, at least as a college football coach.
Yes.
Now, I'm pretty sure all of us can come up or have something in his playing career, whether it was with baseball or football, where he had you it's one of those moments in times where you will never forget where you were and what you were doing and things like that. What day it was, what you had for dinner, what was the forecast outside. It's just one of those moments that he had where you said to yourself, I will never forget that. And Deion Sanders obviously had one of those moments as a professional athlete. So my question to you all is what is your most favorite memorable sports moment? I know for me personally, after watching this game on television, growing up watching this game on television, and then grasping the concept that this particular event has been a part of my family for generations, and then just being able to experience it in person is something that, I will forever cherish. So, for those who may not know, I might have been born in Southern California. I might have mostly have grown up in Georgia. But my family roots are in Southeast Louisiana. That's why I find it very offensive when you serve me food and it's not seasoned. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a big deal to me. So there is one particular institution of higher learning that's been a part of my generation for 4 or 5 generations or so, and it's called Southern University.
Okay.
They're located on the west side of Baton Rouge.
Red Stick.
Yeah. So, at the end of the regular season, or to cap off the regular season, there is this very big football game called the Bayou Classic.
Oh, yeah.
And it has been airing on NBC since 1991 to this very day.
Okay.
So after growing up watching this as a child, I finally was able to go to this as in person to experience this in 2008.
Okay.
That was amazing because actually at that time, I was on the trajectory of going to college. in Oklahoma.
Okay.
I was offered a full scholarship and everything. Then I went to the Bayou Classic. Like, the building had like 70,000+ people who looked like me in the building, and the game was on national television. You didn't need to stream it. It was on NBC. You don't need cable for it.
Right.
Just click, and then bam, you're there.
Right.
And that was awesome. Yeah. That was special. I was sitting with family, family that I've known, family that I met, and that was something that I will forever cherish.
Right.
Just being in that environment, and I'm like, wait a minute, they do this every week?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so that made me reevaluate, like, where do I want to go to school? Because I can, I had to, like, readjust my thought process as to where I wanted to go. But that's like the one memorable thing that I went, because my uncle, he had an extra ticket. He offered me to go. I said yes. He's been a ticket holder for Southern University for like 4 decades, leading up to his passing. And then he just took me.
Yeah.
And I was amazed. Like, I was blown away. That was fun. And seeing it in person, it was really special. The team didn't win.
Right.
And I know they didn't go to the championship game, but, that was special to me.
The experience and the energy, though, huh?
Oh. Did I tell you the part where I fell in love as soon as I stepped foot inside the Superdome?
No.
Yeah, my head spun all the way around until I got to my seat. Like, I was woozy. I mean, it felt like I got whiplashed. That's how fond the women are or were in the building on that particular day.
Right.
And forget the fact that it was raining outside. They still showed up.
That's okay.
Yeah, so what is your favorite sports moment or memory? I know you are a Miami guy, so is it Dan Marino? Is it LeBron becoming a Heat? Or is it how the Florida Marlins, when they go to the playoffs, the first 2 trips to the playoffs, they ran the table and won the whole thing, and then they just blow up the team in the offseason?
So strangely enough, probably the most doesn't even have anything to do with any of the Miami teams. When the Heat franchise first came to Miami, my dad and my dad had season tickets. He split them with somebody, so he goes to one game, the other game. And when they had NBA All-Star Weekend there, it fell where we would get the slam dunk contest stuff on the Saturday and the three-point contest, and the guy would get the All-Star game. Well, if you look it up, whatever year that was, that same night we're down at the original Miami Arena, the first one they made for the Heat, that's the same night that Mike Tyson fought Buster Douglas. So
was that the one where the sheriffs was in the ring? Was that the one?
I don't know about the sheriffs, but go here with me. So we left the VCR to record the fights as we typically did if we were out. The VCR is a video cassette recorder. In case you don't know, Jackson. So we're coming out. Was it Dominique Wilkins won the dunk contest? I can't really remember, but we're coming out and like the panhandlers and stuff. We're hustling. We'll wash your windshield for you, and all this kind of stuff. And we're good. And me and my dad talking about. We wonder what round Mike got him in, and the panhandler says Mike got whooped. Like, yeah, this dude's a wino. What are you talking about, man? So we rush home. And we rewind the VCR back, not all the way, just maybe halfway. And whatever round we stopped on, we see Mike's eye closed up like a TV. I just couldn't believe it. I said, Dad, you gotta come in. You gotta see this. And he looks at Mike Tyson's eye. We had to rewind it back and watch the whole fight that night. It was up to like 1, 2 in the morning. And we just could not believe, because Buster Douglas was on the undercard of Mike Tyson's previous fight getting stopped. Yeah. He was getting stopped the previous fight. It seemed like Mike Tyson, when he was in his prime, it seemed like he fought every 90 to 120 days. So he was guaranteed a Tyson fight on HBO with Larry Merchant, one of my favorite commentators because he was so corny and everything. From him, you will probably see a Mike fight 3 to 4 times a year in the prime. So it was the hype, right?
Yeah.
We could not believe, if anybody, not the guy who was just getting knocked out on the undercard a few months ago, had his eye closed up and everything.
Yeah.
That stays with me because we were coming from a sporting event.
Yeah.
We just couldn't believe it. I mean, to this day, man, my dad will be 82 in a few days. Yeah, love you, Dad. We talk about that to this day because, guys, from that era, you would think he was never going to get beat ever.
And now Mike Tyson, last I checked, he's getting ready to go in the ring with some YouTuber or TikToker?
Jake Paul.
Yeah,
well,
Jake Paul.
he's
The problem
boxed a
child.
couple fights. Yeah,
He's 57. But I saw him working out. He looks pretty sharp. But Mike of old. If you want to pull up a favorite, probably most brutal Mike Tyson knockout. I'm not a new boxing fan. I got one of my buddies in Miami that'll tell me these because I don't keep up with it anymore. But when I was a kid, I kept up with it. If you want to Google one knockout to show how serious he was, pull up Mike Tyson knocking out Pinklin Thomas.
Okay.
It looks like an execution.
I got
Listen to this. Everything he hit him with is precise and with nothing. And every time he hit him, he put him closer to the floor.
Okay.
And the guy stood up for a while. Not like he was able. He was knocked out on his feet, so he couldn't fall. And everything he hit him with everything, every time to the floor.
Wow.
I've never heard Pinklin Thomas's name again, not even for a jaywalking ticket.
Let me ask you this. 12 rounds.
Used to be 15 back in the day.
Who wins, Tyson or Mayweather? Answer that question for
it's
me.
hard
We're
with
talking
the
about two
weight
different
classes.
weights and everything.
Yeah.
Man. So, this it's not really debatable, man. First of all, with lighter weights, it's more action, more punches, but less power. When you run across a lighter weight fighter that can put out some power, then you got something. That's kind of far and few in between. Matter of fact, I never really watched anything but middleweight on up, 158 pounds and on up.
Yeah.
The Sugar Ray Leonard's and on up. And Sugar Ray and them, they were welterweights, and as you get older, man picks up weight. Yeah. So 158 and up is kind of what I watch. Love heavyweights because there's some beef slinging, somebody going down at some point.
Yeah, and you're not the only one. I think that's the most popular in UFC too. That gets the most traction,
Absolutely.
gets the most views. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So what's your favorite sporting event that is memorable to you the most?
So I got a lot because I got lucky. My dad blessed me, took me to a lot of different games. We went to Indy for the Georgia-Alabama National Championship. That was fun all the way up until the end. And then we've been to every Peach Bowl since 2015 when Florida State and Houston, and then we were at the first college football game in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and it was my first time in the stadium walking in there. It was Alabama versus Florida State. The atmosphere was crazy, everything like that.
It's a beautiful stadium.
Yes. Oh, it is my favorite.
Yes. That is a very nice palace. I don't think it's needed, but nonetheless, it's nice.
Yes. So, I've got a whole bunch, and if y'all remember when it was Joe Burrow's LSU versus Bama, Jalen Waddle got his face mask almost ripped off. They didn't throw the flag, but he took it all the way anyways.
Wow.
But and I was there for that one too, but the one that sticks out to me the most just as moment and still the whole game was the 2015-2016 season when it was Alabama versus Clemson. Oh, and then Big Papi hitting that grand slam against the Tigers back in 2013. But anyways.
He went up with a bang that year.
Yes. So it was Alabama versus Clemson, and this was the season that Alabama had just lost to Ole Miss for the second straight year, and 3 different quarterbacks played in the Ole Miss game. And it ended up being Jake Coker, who was the Florida State transfer. He came in, whatever. So it was that season, that national championship. That was when everyone was the loudest that the dynasty was dead, that this was just a 2009, 2012 thing. It wasn't in it because they hadn't been in a while. They just lost to Ole Miss again. So everyone's dynasty's 100% dead. So it's a great game. Bama did a little onside kick before to kind of be able to create a little bit bigger lead. Clemson comes back and makes it a 3-point game. So then Kenyon Drake on a kickoff return takes the ball off the bounce. He makes a few guys miss, heads down the sideline. Chris Fowler had an amazing call all the way down the field. Then he dove into the end zone for the touchdown. And it wasn't only that moment with them saying the dynasty was dead. At that moment, it was Alabama's winning this game. But this was a dude in Kenyon Drake who lost a whole season because he broke his leg and lost a lot of that year, which was his senior season, because he broke his arm. And it was the perseverance, the staying through the tough times, whatever. And in all reality, he won Alabama the national championship game that year. Stuck around, did his job, everything like that. And that is still my favorite play of all time. It is what sticks out to me the most. Him diving over, I can repeat almost the whole call of him going down the field verbatim. That one is what sticks out to me the absolute most.
Yeah.
So in Major League Baseball, probably my most memorable moment. I mean, there's so many. I mean, we can talk about Rafael Furcal's unassisted triple play, which was on national television. It was on Sunday Night Baseball.
What about the Jeter? The little flick, the Jeter flick.
Yes, that was in the playoffs. And I was watching his documentary, and he brought that up and talked about that. We can do arguably the greatest catch in the history of Major League Baseball, the Andrew Jones Spider-Man catch straightaway center. Yeah. That was before the Astros went to the American League. We can talk about that. We can just talk about the speed that the Braves had in the early 1990s with Justice being young, Otis Nixon, Deion Sanders. They had a lot of speed. We can talk about Greg Maddux and how I don't think Greg Maddux will get the proper love that I think he should get because, his numbers in the playoffs really are kind of subpar compared to his numbers, in the regular season. Yeah. But, Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz.
Oh,
3 Cy Young Award winners on the same team
killer.
For about a decade or so.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not going to catch that again. Well, we're not.
And if for me, just even a series, it was the ALDS. It was Boston versus the Rays in 2021 when the Red Sox beat the Yankees in the wild card, and then they ended up losing to the Astros before the Braves ended up winning the World Series against the Astros.
Yeah.
But it was the ALDS. Red Sox they do this sometimes when they get ahead in the season. They kind of put it on cruise control towards the end. But then they got hot. They had a walk-off against the Blue Jays on the final game of the regular season. Then they come in, they beat the Yankees in the wild card. And, that's huge. Red Sox, Yankees, Red Sox beating
just
the
a little
Yankees.
bit. Just a little bit, yeah.
And so you go into that series, and all anybody was talking about was the Rays. And the first game they won, the second game, they were eating popcorn, and they got up 2-0. They were eating popcorn in the dugout, acting like they were bored, showboating, this is our division rivals. And you know what Rays stands for, right?
What?
Red Sox and Yankees suck. That's how they got.
Wow.
That's how they got their name.
I didn't know that.
But
kind of brutal there.
Anyways,
that's not offensive.
Yeah,
that's not offensive.
So they had already ordered champagne, everything like that. Boom. Red Sox have this magical run, come all the way back. Great pitching. Nick Pivetta came out. Nobody really knew his name yet. He came in the third inning, pitched 5 innings, was striking out. Everyone was coming off the mound, screaming into his glove. It's in Fenway.
It's turned up.
So, so every strikeout, you're hearing the woo in the background, the bullhorn they play there.
Yeah.
But it was just that, not just as a moment, but just since you were talking about baseball, just that series will always stand out to me as one of my favorites of all time. And even though the Red Sox did not win the World Series, that's one of my favorite postseason runs that they've ever had.
One of my most memorable postseason moments for Major League Baseball. And you all prepare yourselves because I might flip this table over. That's just how devastated I was. Let's take it back to Game 6 of the 2020 World Series. Mm-hmm. Speaking of the Rays, they was actually in this World Series.
Against just went off when you said Game 6, but I'll get back.
Oh my God!
against them LA Dodgers, folks.
The worst. Oh.
I'm gonna actually scoot up in my seat for this. And this isn't a very happy and jolly moment. Because I think Jackson knows exactly where I'm going with this.
I knew what you were talking about when you said Game 6. I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah. So, so there's this pitcher, by the name of Blake Snell. Okay. And he was wheeling and dealing. This was a must-win for the Rays. Okay, a must-win for the Rays. They had to win this in order to force Game 7.
And I'm just adding on to Harp's points that you get the full intensity and vibe here. Okay. He was not just wheeling and he was having the performance of his life.
Okay,
he was going to lead them. He was this is a win or die situation. And you're here, and your pitcher is going crazy.
Okay,
you talking about producing when it matters the most. This man produced when it matters the most. When I say he produced when it matters most, the man threw 72 pitches. Mm-hmm. Okay, 72 pitches. Take a wild guess.
How many hits you think he gave up in that night? You can count on one hand. That's your hint.
2?
Yes. Only gave up 2 hits.
Yeah.
In 72 pitches thrown. It might have been 73 pitches thrown, but the case in point is the Dodgers did not have an answer for that man at all.
Right.
He shut down the entire lineup. We're talking Betts. We're talking Muncy. We're talking Turner. We're talking Bellinger. None of them had an answer. So what happens? And to this day, I still haven't looked at Kevin Cash for this, but Kevin Cash, the manager of the Rays at the time, I still think he's the manager now.
Yeah.
What does he do? He comes in and he pulls Blake Snell.
Why?
That, if you remember, we were actually talking about this guy a couple weeks ago because I had brought it up. This is his postseason strategy. And you asked me, why is it his postseason strategy?
Right.
But like Harp, at this probably about lines about what he was going to say. Nobody really knows why he does this or why he pulled him.
Yeah.
Well, here's my answer. And I think and this is my personal belief as to why this is. And honestly, I believe that this is the reason why we have a pitch clock in Major League Baseball the way that we do now, especially with the way that technology is, and it has caused people's attention span to not be what it once was instead of just focusing. Mm-hmm. There's this thing called analytics. Now, it's always been around. It's always been around. However, baseball has decided to use analytics for every at-bat, every inning, especially, these meetings in between at-bats, meetings during the at-bats, these lollipop throws to first base just to keep the runners at bay. It has prolonged Major League Baseball to where Major League Baseball, in order to salvage their fan base and their popularity, which all is at the bottom of the food chain, they implemented a clock.
Right.
It speed up the game. Ratings and attendance have gone up.
Right.
So to answer the question why, it's got to be because of analytics. Analytics, they use analytics kind of like the X's and O's of baseball.
Okay.
To where if you go through if a starting pitcher goes through a lineup 3 times, by that 4th time, the hitter, the lineup is going to start teeing off on him because they've seen what he's capable of doing, et cetera, et cetera. And that's my reason for believing that Kevin Cash pulled Blake Snell. Now, what I have heard since then is that the analytics side of baseball is not coming from, the manager or the coaches. It's really coming from the front office.
Yeah. And
that blows my mind.
The thing with analytics, we're talking about baseball right now, but you're seeing live by the sword, die by the sword, like Kevin Cash is doing in baseball, but you see it with the Dans, Dan Campbell and Dan Lanning in college football and NFL respectively. Like they are using this to base their whole game plan around. And in my opinion, you have to find that middle ground. You can't base your whole game plan off of analytics.
That's fair.
But you can't not look at them at all. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? But you have to find that middle ground where it's like, okay, we're looking at this, we know this, whatever. But when it's 4th and 1 at your own 35,
why are you running? Why are you throwing the ball?
Just punt. Right. Just punt. It's 4th and 1. You're on your own 35. Just
run the ball.
Well,
do a tush push.
Yeah.
What you doing throwing the ball and it's 4th and inches?
Like
brotherly shove.
Like
yes.
Dan Lanning really they might have not made the playoffs. Washington still could have beat him in the Pac-12 championship, whatever. But Dan Lanning went for it on 4th down on his own side of the field against Washington 5 times.
Right.
And he cost his team the game and gave Washington some points, especially on Washington's last drive where they tied it up.
Wow.
Yeah, now for my football most memorable moment, because this actually happened on my birthday. Let's take it back to the 21 season. Excuse me, the 2000 season.
Okay.
The following year, it was in January, so 2021 on my birthday.
Okay.
Now, it was a shootout for the ages between the Rams and the Panthers. That game went into double overtime. I was watching that. Then I watched the AFC divisional game.
Yeah.
Raiders and Patriots. It was a Saturday night. It was snowing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What was so iconic about that? about that game? Anybody knows?
Tuck rule.
The tuck rule that was only used once, and it was never used again. Ironically, it was the Raiders and the Jets for the second time it was used. No one ever heard of it before. It was never brought up in anybody's analysis, but it was used. And you talk about the turn of tides between two different franchises, one having like at least 20 years of excellence and success, and another team seemingly never really recovered from that psychologically.
Yes, and you actually look at like Charles Woodson had a lot of great moments in his career, but if that would have been called a fumble, that's his shining, that's his like what you play over and over and over again.
Did you see the documentary series between two Michigan Wolverine guys?
Yep.
And Woodson is just giving him facts, just eating him up like breakfast, and then
don't you just hate Michigan, Harp?
Yeah, and all right, watch. Okay, watch. Yeah, if your mic gets muted for the rest of this segment, I will not be surprised as to what's the stimulation behind that.
I got nothing to do with this.
I have nothing to do with that. All I'm saying was that the two guys, they are Michigan Wolverines. That's all I was going to go with that. Okay, but and then Tom Brady just came to the realization that that was a fumble.
Yeah. No, I saw that because he was like trying to explain. He's like, but it's not fair because if I get right here, and then he goes, see what happens, knock it out of my hand. He knocks it out, and Tom Brady goes, fumble, and Charles Woodson was like, yeah, that was a fumble.
Yeah, and that was the turn of the tide for Tom Brady's career. And then my basketball, the 2000 dunk contest, with Vince Carter. He like, I remember him in an interview, he said that he always wanted to be remembered as a basketball player, all-around basketball player, excuse me. But no, what he did in the dunk contest was electric. Yeah. It was electric. But folks, Heath Jackson, Heath J. Holloway. Our guy Josh is behind the glass. We want to say, and shouts out to our guy Jay Will, he wasn't able to make it. We want to thank you all for spending time with us each and every week for like the last month or so on CGB Live on Deck. We really do appreciate it. Our social media, is on display, so feel free to reach out to us and whatnot. And we just want to say thank you all for making time for us the way that you all have. So on the behalf of our director, Tim Nunn, Josh Hackendon, who's currently behind the glass, for Jay Will, for Jackson Lowe, for Jerome Holloway, my actual real name is Anthony Harp. We want to thank you all for joining us and spending time with us the way that you have. This is our final show, so we want to say thank you all for joining us.
Appreciate that.